So, I'm going to talk to you briefly about what I do in facial surgery and how it's different from what other surgeons are doing. Now, deep plane surgery is like the basic level for entry point, and I think that these days most surgeons are offering a deep plane surgery, which is a foundational shift that moves the foundation and gives you a long-lasting and natural-looking surgical result. But in my practice, maybe there's 4 or 5 levels more than that or higher than that I'm doing, and I'm going to explain those all to you so you can understand what I do and how it's different from other deep plane surgeons. So, most deep plane surgeons are going to do a surgery where they go below the skin to the deeper layer where the fascia is, and below that layer is the glide plane. Once they're in that deep plane, they're going to lift until they think things look good, and that's where they're going to reattach structures. I'm a little different. On the inside, I can actually see the connection between the bone and the soft tissue. As we age, this connection, which is called the ligament, stretches and drops, and there's a distance that's achieved as the cheek is falling off of the bone. Inside, when I'm looking, I can see a ligament connecting these two things. I mark here and here with a marking pen, and then I separate the ligament. And then I come back and I reattach things where they were once I'm closing. So I'm literally following the anatomic roadmap on the inside. I'm putting things back simply where they were or resetting that anatomy on the inside. This is very different because we're maintaining the natural shape, the natural form on the inside. Form and function are related. This is a key concept. If the form is changed, the function will change. If the length that the zygomatic muscle has to move is changed and tightened, the muscle will not look the same. Now, I want you to listen very carefully to this next comment. I have seen dozens of patients who have a great before and after photo on a surgeon's website, but when you look at them in person and they are talking or they're moving, something's not right. There's bunching here in the cheek, there's a block to the smile, or there's some movement that creates scar tissue or an artificial pull in their face. This is why it's so important to maintain the natural form so that the function is normal as well. This is why in my practice, online and social media, I post videos of patients talking, moving, and interacting so you can see their face in movement so that it looks natural and well balanced. That's how you see a natural result. It's not simply a fantastic before and after in a static photo. And for many years, surgeons justified their techniques by saying, look at these before and afters, they look the same, if not better, but they have not shown significant video, or they have not shown significant movement of those patients' faces to help to show you that there's no smile block or other problems with movement after surgery. When I'm inside, I'm following the form. I'm resetting this balance so that we're mimicking the exact length that's needed for the zygomatic muscle to move. We're literally just putting things back where they were 10 to 15 years ago. And that's why it's almost impossible for me to make you look weird or tight or pulled, because I'm putting things back where they belong. Once things have been put back where they belong, there's extra skin sitting on top of the ear. Now, I can show you dozens of before and after photos on the table where you see the edges of the skin just sitting side by side, and it looks like it's closed with sutures, but then I lift it up and you realize the skin is just sitting there perfectly under no tension. I don't put tension across the skin. I don't pull the skin and stitch it, because tension is what creates a windswept look to the skin or tight or thick or upraised scar. Tension activates the fibroblasts, the cells that create scar tissue, to create that thick, upraised, wide, or red scar. So if there's no tension, you don't have to worry about a scar in front of the ear. Also, if there's no tension, you don't have to worry about a tight or windswept look. And if you've seen my before and after photos, you've seen literally dozens of people whose faces look great and you do not see the signs of the incision around the front of the ear. Now, behind the ear is a little bit different because tension plays a role, but the ear also secretes an oil that can be a little caustic and inflammatory. So there's a higher risk of a thicker upraised scar behind the ear after surgery, which we treat with medications, lasers, and other injectables. That being said, no one wants a visible incision on the outside. That's why this tension-free closure is key. And most surgeons understand that tension is important, but for some reason, people forget that you should not put tension across the skin in a facelift. That's how they wind up with bad scars. Another key concept, we've all seen those facelifts where the skin looks waxy or plastic after surgery. That happens for a very specific reason. The skin has been separated from the deep layer. So the surgeon has separated the skin from the deep layer, which provides it with oxygen, nutrient, and other important delivery of growth factors. So if the skin is separated from its oxygen and nutrients, it undergoes an ischemic change, which creates inflammation and scar tissue in that skin. And it heals and does okay, but it's a permanent change that makes the skin look hard, waxy, or plastic. I don't separate the skin from the deeper layer. I preserve the connection between the deep layer and the skin. in essence preserving the delivery of oxygen, nutrient, and blood supply. We call this a preservation style lift because of the preservation of the delivery of those important compounds to the skin. That's how we maintain a natural look to the skin. But also, it reduces the risk of bruising, inflammation, and other problems that can occur because you're not creating a layer that's open between the skin and that deeper layer. This preservation style approach definitely is the state of the art for deep plane, as it creates the most natural looking results afterwards. Lastly, I always do something a little bit different in the lower face and neck. I want to talk to you about that approach, what it is, and what I'm essentially well known for. I do something in the lower face and neck called Crevasse Technique, and the name will make sense in just a second, but first I want to talk about why the neck is so important. So I don't think you can have a good face and neck lift without having a fantastic neck and jawline. It makes sense because if you age 2% here, 5% here, it's 10% here. Everything accumulates from the cheeks down in the neck. And if you see a great face and neck lift result, if the neck looks fantastic, that's because the stuff above was put back where it belongs. So in essence, if the neck represents the facial skin that's drooped down below, if we reconnect the facial skin appropriately, the neck will look fantastic. How do we get this fantastic jawline? Again, Crevasse Technique. Now, I wrote an article a few years ago with a good friend of mine named Ben Talley. In this article, which we published in the top aesthetic surgery journal in cosmetic surgery and plastic surgery, we wrote about this technique and showed several hundred patients that had had it done. Now, what is the Crevasse Technique? Simply put, I go underneath the skin of the chin. I go underneath the muscle that's the deep neck. This is called the platysma. I'm in the deep neck. Like I'm in the deep face, I'm in the deep neck. I'm going to treat the etiology of heaviness within that deep neck. That means the fat compartment under the chin, the muscles at their wide splayed laterally, moving them back into correct position, the glands, which can drop down and become heavy. Sometimes I need to shave a small portion off of the submandibular gland and push the rest of it back up in the floor of the mouth. The gland has 5 lobes. 2 of them are usually what I deal with or treat because the gland is shaped like a C. There's a muscle here called the mylohyoid. We want to remove the portions that are outside the floor of the mouth and push the rest of it back up into the floor of the mouth. Once we treated this etiology, the causes of heaviness in the deep neck, we then take the platysma, we reattach it to itself and tighten it a bit to create more support under the chin and jawline. Laterally, the same muscle is attached to the bone behind the ear. This creates tension along the jawline. This helps to create a crevice underneath the mandible. This is why we call it Crevasse Technique. We want to create more definition underneath the mandible. Definition is what creates a good-looking jawline. Definition along this area is what creates the ultimate look of beauty. Now, this is important. The neck really signifies health and vitality. So better-looking necks after surgery look like healthier patients, better patients, patients with more definition. These are the key concepts. The Crevasse Technique is how I get the best looking jawline possible. And again, I think that I'm known for this. I think that's why you're here. The neck is what separates my results from other surgeons. Now, another important concept, which is facial fat grafting. In all of my cases, I want to take a little fat from your body and use that to add back volume. But I don't want a bigger face. I don't want a puffy, large, overinflated face. In fact, I want your face to be smaller after surgery. That's why we're removing tissue with the facelift. Once everything's been put back where it belongs, we take a small volume of fat from you. This fat we process into something we call structural fat because it's going to recreate structure. And I'm going to use it to add back to areas where you've lost volume. So even after a lift, there's an area right here where maybe a little bit of volume would still make my result look better. I'm going to add fat to the nasolabial fold, your pre-gel sulcus, your canine sulcus, the sulcus right above the chin or that little crease that's here. Sometimes the area just underneath the corner of the mandible where there's a little hollowing, usually the cheek or the transition between cheek and lower eyelid, the temple, the brow, even the upper ear and earlobe, because as we age, these become deflated and they can become telltale signs of someone who's undergone a facelift if the ear doesn't match the rest of the face. That structural fat helps me to augment or add volume where it's been lost. But then I'm going to take some of it and process it even further. This is where the magic happens. We actually take stem cells and growth factors from that fat. And these stem cells and growth factors are then harvested into something we call nano-fat, which we then inject throughout the face. We can microneedle it from top to bottom, but we can also inject it with a cannula into the tear troughs and into the lips. And what this nano-fat does as a regenerative treatment, it basically uses the stem cells and the growth factors to improve the blood supply to the lip, to the tear trough, and to the skin from top to bottom. This enhances skin quality because it's not just about lifting, adding volume, it's also about improving skin quality. This is just one of the treatments we do to improve skin quality. We also do a CO2 laser to kind of steam press the skin. We use a microneedling approach, which we do both at the intraoperatively and at 6 weeks post-op. And we're using a topical medication, which I'm going to prescribe to you on the day of the consult or even before to help get your skin ready for surgery. This topical medication that we prescribe involves several key concepts compounded together by a pharmacy. It's not expensive because it comes from a pharmacy. I don't even get paid to sell it to you, but it is a pharmaceutical that's medically optimized, that's designed for your skin quality. That's why it's so powerful. This medication includes topical retin A, which helps to improve skin cell turnover, hyaluronic acid to balance the drying effects, niacinamide, which improve the barrier function, vitamins D and E, which improve skin cell membrane as it's going through turnover, resveratrol, an antioxidant, turmeric, an anti-inflammatory, all this in a ceramide base. And if you just start using that product the day of the consult or prior to, even if you don't have surgery, you have the best skin of your life at 60 to 90 days. So this process is multifactorial. It's not just about a state-of-the-art approach to the surgery. It's not just about advancing the D plane and taking it to the next level and truly offering a surgery which is light years above what most are doing in the deep plane. It's also about how we use regenerative medicine and therapies, including your own stem cells and growth factors, and topical medications and treatments to further improve skin quality. It's not just surgery and see you later. There's all of this included in what we do. That's what separates my results. That's what separates the care and the outcomes. This is what I do and how it's different.